today on the conversation we are looking at circular economy, and specifically talking to the lady you've seen there. She is called Josephine Wawira, Chief Communication Officer from Sustainable Inclusive Business, who's been doing a wonderful job in bringing to life stories of circular economy. And the first clip you've seen there is on how to dispose electronic waste management. Such an incredible job she's been doing, and that's why I feel privileged to be sitting down with her just to talk more on what circular economy is, and of course her experiences covering some of these stories. And of course going forward we're going to learn on ways of ensuring that we are recycling and of course being good to the environment. That's all we talk here on the conversation conservation. Thank you so much, Josephine, for making time for us.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana kwa KASS.
Asante.
Kikalenjin tunasema itagat.
And how do you respond to that?
Kongoe.
Kongoe.
Yes.
Asante sana.
Wow. Josephine, I've been following up on the stories you're doing online on circular economy, Trailblazers, and amazing features you've been creating, and I said I have to find you here to talk to you about that and what inspired it, and of course what we need to understand when you're talking about circular economy, right? Karibu sana.
Thank you. Thanks once again for having me and also for acknowledging the work that we've been doing. So I'm the communications officer at Sustainable Inclusive Business. It is the knowledge center under the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, that is KEPSA, an apex body representing the private sector in the country.
Yeah.
And yes, I think I discovered a niche. For our organization, one of our main focus areas is circular economy. So I think one of our biggest challenge today as a country and the world at large is that we are still operating on the linear model. And by linear model, I mean we take resources which are finite, and then we use them and then we dispose them. So it's a take, make and waste kind of model. The problem with this model is that, like I said, our resources are like finite, like they end. We are cutting down trees to make charcoal. What we don't know is that, you know, if we are cutting down trees and we have a habit of not replanting the trees, so we are just taking and taking from the ecosystem. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we realize that we are causing ourselves more problem to the environment, which comes back to us. We are living in a pandemic now. If you look at it, and the environmental impact that it has had on us, then it's time for us to rethink how we relate to the environment, which is why we are insisting on the need to shift quickly to a more sustainable and a more circular model. This model then makes sure that we keep resources circulating in the environment. And how do we do this? It is first by we have to rethink our ways. We have to rethink what have we been doing, where are we wrong, how can we correct that. The second step is redesigning. So if we have been designing products that are just for single use and then disposing them back to the environment, then we have to now redesign in a way that these products can go back, can be reused again in the ecosystem. True. And then we have to think about reusing. So for instance, instead of buying a single-use bottle, why don't we redesign our products in a way that that bottle can be reused, yeah, instead of just using once and then getting rid of it, yeah. And then the last one, of course, is recycling. So this should be the last step, but then again, this is an industry that, you know, it's still very unexploited, and there are numerous opportunities in the recycling industry, which is why I've also been covering some of these stories, because I think what we discovered is the community is a very big and major, actually a very key stakeholder in the value chain when it comes to circularity. Yeah, the reason is, if for instance I'm designing products, who's going to be the end user? It's the member of the community, it's the consumer. But if for instance this person or this community is not informed, it's not doesn't know exactly what to do with that product. For instance, if you have redesigned your product in a way that it can be taken back and then recycled or reused to another product, but the person who's using it doesn't know, then what is the need? Yeah. So there was a gap, and there still is a gap, a big one, in informing and creating awareness at the community level, which is why I decided that one of the best ways to do this is actually through storytelling and going to the ground and, you know, showcasing, no matter how small or how big maybe a business, an individual, an organization is doing to contribute to the swift shift from a linear to a more circular economy, then it is key that we showcase these stories and tell the people, hey, look, this person actually, for instance, the story we just watched now of you know, e-waste management. Like, did you know only 1% of electronic waste in Kenya is recycled? Just one. And how many more, what other percentage like ends up in the landfill? Or even in our own houses, we have, you know, lots of broken items, from TVs, radios, what else? Anything that you can think of, electro fridges, our phones, our laptops, even desktops. Like, we have so many, including the small batteries that you buy. After you use, then it's nini, and then you take and you put to. But those electronic items, once you dispose them, the chemical levels in them that then end up to the landfill and then into the soil, and then at the end of the day, we are still the ones who are cultivating the soil, and then we intake. So whatever we put back comes back to us.
So true.
You get? So it is important to create awareness and tell people, listen, you don't have to throw away your used battery. You don't have to throw away your spoiled phone. There is an organization, for instance, We Center, who can come and collect your spoiled electronic or electric waste and safely dispose. If not dispose, mostly they actually do 90% of it is recycled or refurbished and put back. We have people giving old laptops or broken laptops that are refurbished, and these laptops are taken to schools and are benefiting students, you see. So it's about putting products or keeping them in the ecosystem, and this way we also end up creating jobs. People who are refurbishing, these are people maybe who didn't have jobs, yeah? And you end up creating opportunities for technicians, for young people who are out there don't have jobs, yeah? So I think it's a bigger picture. Sometimes in the beginning it does look quite cumbersome and a bit confusing, but when you look at the longer picture, businesses especially have to stop now thinking about profits only. It's about time we start rethinking how we relate with the people and the planet. And this is where now we have to showcase, you know, at least the good practices that other individuals and other organizations are doing towards circular economy.
I love when you say that it's through the challenges that you saw there, the narration that we're coming up with to educate the people, right? There's so many things actually from that video. I'm sure someone is watching at home and they didn't even know they can do waste management when it comes to electronics, right? And of course there are companies which works with that, right? From having covered this story, especially as you're talking about the electronic waste management, right? What was their thinking in terms of reaching individuals, for instance, those who are working in the villages, right? Are there ways of them collecting these electronics that they have, and where can they take them?
Yeah, so for instance, I think also I highlighted that on the story that We Center, for instance, they have the mobile take back system where they go around with a truck and maybe do some collection initiatives to maybe let's say for instance, you and your estate, you go and tell your neighbors, hey, who has, you know, this electronic waste in their houses that they don't know how to deal with them, or even they didn't know that they can actually deal with them. Instead of taking them and throwing them in a dustbin, where it goes and it's mixed up with other waste streams like organic waste, plastics, paper, and it's mixed up all. And then that's, you know, we are not even sourcing waste at source. That's another one of our problems. We do not separate waste at source. So whatever goes into our dustbins, it's combined, everything. The food that remained, the plastic bottles from the soda we drank, the paper from that notebook or that exercise book that is full, we just put them all in one dustbin, and then the collector comes and takes everything. And then even at now the recycling or the separation stage, it becomes quite a challenge, because then again, removing a plastic bottle for recycling, for instance, or that battery that you disposed of from within that, you know, organic waste, then it becomes a challenge. So again, like I said, the reason why I'm doing these videos under sustainable inclusive business is to create more awareness and tell people, listen, there are solutions to the problems that we are facing, and those solutions, for instance, start with us from the very household level. So like I was saying, you could tell your neighbors, hey, listen, you don't have to throw those electronic waste or your phone on, because sometimes unapeleka a phone, it is repaired so many times until you're like, it has reached the end of its life. It's time for it to go. So you just throw it away. But if, for instance, you as an estate, you come together and say, on this particular day, let's call Waste Center to come, and all together we are going to give, no matter whether it's one item from each household, and they come and collect that. Usually they have that mobile, you know, take back initiative, and they are also going to estates, like when you come together, and then they collect, and also this way we create more awareness, and we make people know that yes, we have a challenge, but there is a solution, and we can be a part of that solution. Yes.
And I love the call for personal responsibility, and of course it's through creating awareness like this that people will know, hey, if you're having your dustbin, you need to have one for recyclable and this and that, right?
Yes.
Very interesting. Sustainability is the name of the game right now, and later on we're going to look at some of the ways that companies have started adopting this eco-green, right? You mentioned something about bottle and being reusable, right?
Yes.
I think this is taking me to the next story of plastic, turning waste plastic into construction machineries or materials as well, right? We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Josephine Wawira is still here with us, teaching us or informing us, creating awareness on how we can manage our waste, and of course being kind to our environment. Go so far. Welcome back to the conservation conversation. My name is Chemtai Kirui. If you're joining us right now, having a conversation with Josephine Wawira, who is the communication officer from Sustainable Inclusive Business, here tonight to talk to us about Circular Economy Trailblazer, a program that she's been running, trying to educate us on ways that we can be kind to environment, but by ensuring that everything we are using at home is sustainable. And by sustainable here today, we are talking about waste management and how we can recycle that. Before the break, of course, we looked at the first video, which actually blew my mind, and I knew there's so many things I can do with the electronics that we have them lying around, thinking that I'm going to one day work on it or not, right? Right now we're going to you've just looked at the turning waste plastic into construction material. Such an inciting interview had there, Wawira, and to see the final product that comes from the dirt that the guy was saying there's nothing that can't be reused, of course, and made to something that it's worth, right? 1 minute we think that this is waste, the next minute we have something that can be used. What an experience, right?
What an experience, yes. And I think the narrative here is that waste is wealth. Taka ni mali, in Swahili we say.
I love that. I love it actually. Yeah.
And it is also a narrative that is being adopted even at policy level. So the Nairobi County recently launched the Circular Economy Nairobi, which also is running with that narrative that taka ni mali. In English, we are saying that waste is wealth. So for a long time, we're always looking at, waste as something that needs to be disposed of that we cannot relate with. But looking at the story that we have just watched, and this is an experience that I really enjoyed documenting, is that you can turn any sort of waste into something more valuable, into something that you can put back into the ecosystem. Kenya is one of the countries that relies a lot on manufacturing industry, producing. We even have the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. It's a big association because the manufacturing industry in Kenya is such a huge one. But I think the story that I'm pushing here is that even waste from one industry can be a byproduct in another industry. So we have producers of plastic, but then we have this guy here in the middle, who in this case is Green Pavers from the story, that realized, listen, from the plastics or the plastics industry, be it PET bottles, be it the goodnias that we use and then we no longer use them, be it the paper, anything plastic can actually be converted into products that are used in another industry, and that is construction. So I experienced the process that they turn this from shredding to taking them through that almost over 350 degrees of heat, and then compressing them into something so beautiful as maybe a fencing pole or a building brick or a tile. And the most interesting thing is right now, with our population increasing, the cost of living, the cost of home ownership has gone way above what most of us can actually afford. But this company here is providing a sustainable solution, a more affordable solution, a more longer lasting solution to that gap when it comes to home ownership. We did the calculation, and building a house, for instance, with recycled plastic could end up cutting your costs by more than 30%. So I was thinking, actually, I should build a house from plastic and become one of the. It's very strong. And then he was telling us, especially for people who live under extreme weather conditions. This is, for instance, a roofing tile that has gone through over 360 degrees of heat. So let me ask you, how hot can it be to spoil that? And then also the time in which the construction, because they're like interlocking blocks, so even the period that it takes to construct, it's quite less. If it's the building, the fencing poles, this is a material that is not or cannot be eaten by termites. One of the biggest problems when you go to fence with wood, and then before you know it, termites have come and have eaten it. Remember, when we are fencing with wood, for instance, how many trees have we cut? So such kind of thinking and redesigning our products and recycling what is already considered as waste goes a long way to contribute to what we are calling sustainability models, where one waste from one industry is a byproduct for another industry. And from his story, he has actually created numerous jobs for what he called as trying to rehabilitate some of the, unfortunately, street children. But these are people who have now learned to operate machines, who can now become their engineers by themselves. It just took an interest in someone who saw an opportunity and decided, looking at the longer term, I think there is a solution to what is ailing us as a country when it comes to waste, into creating something quite beautiful. I also experienced another organization called T3. I documented that as well. It's called Trash Thread Textile. Believe you me, you can wear clothes from plastic. I wish we would. They're actually recycling, and when I visited, they have like a whole mountain range of PET bottles that has taken 2 years to collect, and these are plastic that could have ended up in our rivers. See the way when you go to, you know, rivers in Nairobi and they're all blocked with plastics
completely.
everywhere on the street. Well, those plastics they have collected now. How like you think you're, you know, going for hiking, kumbe it's plastics, yeah? And the idea is to transform those and recycle them into textile. So trash, thread, textile. So the opportunities are there, and the idea here is to, you know, tell these stories and tell the world, listen, if at all you're thinking of the planet, let's not just think about making profits from our businesses. Let's also think how we are going to heal the planet from the damage that we have already done. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like a big initiative, even from us. For instance, I realized that when I order food online, for instance, they're always packing plastic forks and plastic spoons. And this food, for instance, is coming to my home. I already have spoons there. So usually I always write there, please do not add any plastic cutlery. So I have not done a major thing, but it's just that small thing, because usually what happens is that I take this plastic, and because I'm not using them, usually I would throw them into the dustbin. They have not even been used. So this is not even single use. This is zero use. I did not use that item. I did not use that product, but it has already gone back to the landfill. So it starts with that. If it's water, could we like normalize carrying water bottles, refillable water bottles? It starts with those small. If you buy a sweet and it has a wrap, could you not throw that into the environment? Could you just carry your waste until you can safely dispose that? So it starts with us, from the very individual level to the household level, how we, you know, separate our waste, and also from the business level, and nationally, policy level. So it's a collective initiative. It is not a one-man show here. We can't do it by ourselves, like individually. It is a collective initiative.
Wow. Thought-provoking, Wawira. I mean, someone who's watched those clips, you've explained it so well, and of course got informed, and it makes me relook at the term waste, if ever there's anything like that anymore, right? Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And of course, it's through creating awareness and learning. Like right now, I'm sitting here and thinking, hey, those spoons, you've said when they bring it, right? You took that initiative. I will do the same, because most of the time we're just wasting it, right?
Thank you.
Unless there's anything else we would like to add before.
What I would like to add is that I think in Kenya, we have already made a huge step from shifting from a linear to a more sustainable and circular economy. We have made numerous steps as compared to our counterparts. We banned the plastic carrier bags in 2017. We have banned the single-use plastics, at least in protected areas. Sometimes, however, we have policy regulations that need other initiatives to, you know, help to enforce those and to implement those. Because if the government comes and puts in policies, then also the private sector has a role to play to make sure that these policies and these regulations are successful. And it is, I always like insisting that it is a collective engagement here. So it's the private sector, it's the civil society, it's the informal waste sector, it is the government, it is the individuals, like I said, at the community level. We all must come together, and I'm delighted that Sustainable Inclusive Business is working on an initiative that is going to bring all the stakeholders under one table and share ideas, share knowledge, and, you know, move guided by targets, and say, listen, we have to, for instance, identify items that, you know, we are not using anymore, that we don't need in the environment when it comes to plastics. So we have first to eliminate plastics that we do not need, and we also have to, you know, circulate, and also, you know, make sure that they remain in the environment. So the initiatives are there. I don't think we have come to an end yet. We have to continue. You know, we have made this step, and then we cannot reach a point and say we have done enough, because I don't think we have done enough for the environment as much as it has done for us. So we have to keep, creating initiatives that are geared towards protecting our environment and making sure that we are future proof. I think we've learned the most from this pandemic. We have to protect businesses, we have to protect the environment, we have to protect the people. We usually call it the 3 P's, that is profits, people and planet. So without the 3 of them, then one is going to suffer.
For sure.
So let us come together, let us all play our role. It is a collective initiative.
Keep on championing the good work, Josephine, and we here promise whenever we can, we'll continue showcasing the good work you're doing.
Thank you.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about ensuring that you're good to the environment, right? And if there's any way we can play right now to just mediate the things that are happening in the conservation world, make sure that you're here with us.
Always.
Well, I've been speaking to Josephine Wawira. She is the communication officer from Sustainable Inclusive Business. K stands for KEPSA. I'm sure you're seeing it on the screen. What an informative program, right? You've learned a thing. I'm sure it has challenged me. Keep on watching the rest of our program, and even as you're going on, remember to be good to one another and be good to your environment. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. That's my boss. That was really good.